Good afternoon, I'm Paweł Trzaskowski and you're watching World News. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk represented the country in virtual meetings of the Coalition of the Willing and the European Council today. Following the discussions, Tusk said all the participants confirmed the need for continued support for Ukraine. Our reporter Sonia Agata-Byścian is at the Prime Minister's office in Warsaw. Hello, Sonia, again. So what outcomes, what do we know after today's meeting?
Good afternoon, Paweł. Well, both meetings with the participation of the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, so the 12 p.m. meeting of the Coalition of the Willing, as well as the 1 p.m. meeting that followed of the European Council, they focused on the results of the Monday meeting in Washington between the U.S. President Donald Trump, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, as well as a number of other European leaders who discussed the path towards peace in Ukraine. The two meetings also focused on security guarantees for Kyiv. Following the two meetings, the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said that the leaders are united in wanting peace for Ukraine.
The European Council meeting has ended. Everyone wants peace. No one wants Ukraine to surrender. Plus, President Trump made a realistic assessment of efforts to end the war.
The President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, also commented on the meetings and said that the priority going forward is to exert pressure on Russia and stop the violence.
Russia must immediately end the violence. Our top priority must be to stop the killings. Whether we call it a ceasefire or a truce is a secondary. What matters is that we maintain pressure through sanctions if Russia does not comply.
In the subsequent press conference following the two meetings, Adam Szłapka, the government spokesperson, said that meetings like those on Tuesday are neither a reason to be particularly optimistic nor pessimistic, but rather to stay realistic. He also indicated that Poland so far has exhibited this type of attitude.
Poland has always been, without a doubt, very realistic in its relations with Russia. It's always warned its partners in the EU that they have to be very careful with Russia, and discussions with it always require a tough stance.
Also on Tuesday at 12 p.m. noon, another meeting took place, that of the Polish cabinet, and in the absence of the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, it was chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz. Kosiniak-Kamysz said that in the context of the meetings of the European leaders with the participation of the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, he hopes that these discussions will bring or help bring a lasting peace to Ukraine. Back to you.
Sonia Agata-Byścian, thank you for your report. Polish Deputy Foreign Minister Marcin Bosacki has positively assessed the recent diplomatic efforts to end the war in Ukraine. Bosacki expects further progress at a possible meeting between the presidents of Ukraine and Russia.
We are in a better place than we were a week ago. In a better place than we were after Friday, after the meeting in Alaska. However, this is still an absolutely preliminary stage of negotiations. It is good that both sides, through President Trump, are exchanging their positions. But at the moment, these positions are certainly still very far apart. These positions may only come closer together at a direct meeting, whether in a bilateral or trilateral format with the participation of the United States, or perhaps a quadrilateral format with the participation of representatives from Europe.
The Washington summit between President Trump, President Zelenskyy and European leaders has left Ukrainians caught between confusion, unease and cautious optimism as the path to peace remains unclear. Joining me now is our correspondent Alex Kadier in Kyiv. Hello, Alex. So how was the meeting received in Ukraine?
Well, certainly mixed reviews, I think it's fair to say. It wasn't a disaster like the last time President Zelenskyy was in the Oval Office, and that would have had a sigh of relief across the country because there were warmer interactions between the Ukrainian leader and President Trump. That would have been seen as a positive. But at the same time, when it comes to concrete commitments, a clear path to peace, that for many here still isn't visible. Let's bring you first some reactions from Ukrainians.
It doesn't smell like peace yet. I think Putin will not go for it. He's not that kind of person. I really wanted it all to end peacefully, but unfortunately, a lot of our people died and it's very bitter. I have hope that Putin will do it, and I think he'll be forced to. There are resources in America to influence him. After all, it's a powerful country.
Well, I'm quite satisfied. I think that finally something will become clear. And maybe even this war will end sometime, because many people are dying. We know that all wars end with negotiations. I hope that these negotiations have come.
More is always expected than is received. I'm satisfied that at least we have been accepted, more or less, as equals. We have stopped being humiliated. Of course, we expect victory and peace, as everyone wants, because it is very difficult to live in a state of constant worry, constant stress.
I believe that this is all a game, of course. There can be no ceasefire. Our war will last for at least 5 years, and we need to be prepared for this.
So naturally, as you would expect, there is an appetite for peace. This country has suffered at the hands of the Russian invasion. That will continue to be the case. But the question of what kind of peace remains broadly unanswered. There is not a huge belief here that there is goodwill on the Russian side to come to a negotiation, even though we've heard from the German Chancellor in the last few moments that President Zelenskyy and President Putin will meet within the next 2 weeks. It isn't clear exactly when that will happen, and it isn't very clear that the commitment on the Russian side is the same as what President Zelenskyy has said. He is willing to meet with Vladimir Putin to settle this war. It also has to be said from a Ukrainian perspective, the narrative of land swaps and concessions from the Ukrainian side is quite a bitter pill to swallow. They see this as a Russian invasion that dates all the way back to 2014, an aggression from Russia, the stronger country, not respecting sovereign territory, not respecting international borders, not respecting international law. So the idea that Ukraine needs to be the one to make concessions, as President Trump has suggested, is very difficult to accept here. One more point about those security guarantees. How do you guarantee that Ukraine will not be invaded again? Well, the US president said no US troops on the ground, perhaps some European ones. We don't know how much capacity the European militaries have to give tens of thousands of troops for a potential peacekeeping mission in Ukraine. So for now, things did not get worse, but we don't have a lot of answers for the future.
Alex Cadier reporting from Kyiv. Thank you. Russia overnight launched 270 drones into Ukraine, according to Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha. The Russian strikes targeted several regions of the country, including Kharkiv, Poltava and Donetsk.
One civilian was killed after Russian missiles struck Slovyansk in the Donetsk region.
This was a ceramics workshop. There were no military personnel or any military equipment here. This is a civilian area. We repair cars here. There are no military forces, yet they keep targeting us.
Beyond the casualties and damaged infrastructure, the attacks have taken a toll on the local ecosystem.
I was tending to my beehives. Today I went to check on my bees. They are all still. None of them are flying because they've gone deaf.
At least 7 people were wounded in the Kharkiv region, and multiple fires were sparked by the attacks. In Poltava, some 1,500 people were left without power, as Russia continues its relentless strikes despite ongoing efforts to reach a peace agreement.
Propaganda is a tool often used in times of war, which is why it's important to know how to spot fake news. TVP World's program Break the Fake helps debunk it. Join us tonight at 7:15 p.m. CET for the latest episode.
In the next episode of Break the Fake, we're going to learn why Russian war veterans are getting almost nothing, while the Russian government is getting everything. Also, Russian pop music industry is taking North Korea by storm, so be prepared for a veritable onslaught of cringe. I'm Jonasz Czerwiński. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Break the Fake.
And this concludes the news bulletin, but now the bottom line.